Hello? I was waiting for someone to give me the nod. I was asking for permission, which is probably the wrong way to start a theme about revolution today, right? Is this... Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, thank you to all the sponsors for today, and thank you all for coming. Obviously, we've got a load of really great stands out, and please do make sure that you go and spend some time. We have a mic with a... Just get the distance right. Make sure you get some time to go along and say hello to everybody in the stands. Okay, so I'm Liam. Hello. And it's not lost on me that today we are talking about revolution in a rather colonial building today. It seems a very interesting place to be doing it. I kind of feel we should be like sort of in a basement under Parliament, sort of plotting away together, sort of waiting to see what we can come up with secret hushed discussions. But here we are today in this beautiful landscape, and thank you all for coming. I am going to be chairing this morning session, and I have the absolute privilege to have some really wonderful speakers, and we're going quick and fast. We've got some really, really good ideas, and then we'll be going for a Q&A before the next break. But I've been asked to give a few opening words around revolution, because today's title is Revolution, and if you've read the PR pieces and all of the different bits of information around what we've been told is coming next is a revolution in care. It's going to be big changes with lots of different big words. But when we talk about revolution, what are we actually talking about? What do we mean? So to borrow from the definition of revolution, there's a few different ways that we could look at this. Firstly, revolution can be a sweeping away of the social order where people as a mass, not the few, come together in order to bring about a new system. And of course, we have an industrial revolution, which is very much on our hands at the moment, and there's a degree of inevitability around that. But nowadays in 2025, in the sort of the media, the word revolution can be used to describe a new kind of toothpaste or a new brand of toilet paper. Finally, a revolution is something that goes round and round and round in circles, and we might be forgiven to think that maybe some ICB staff and NHS England staff at the moment may be thinking that is part of the final revolution. So, we've had the 10 years plan just before the summer, and we're now today talking about the impact of it. We've got conversations around the 3 shifts today. And for me, the 10-year plan was a story of high-stakes movie trailer, maybe with a bit less detail than some of us would have liked, filled with big bets and big shifts and centrally fueled sci-fi visions that tells us about a story where AI will come, and instead of being our overlords in the future, like happened in the Terminator, it's going to come and liberate NHS staff from the misery of admin. And that's a really nice story. But with the 3 shifts and the different areas that we're looking at, behind the noise and the words, if you have the misfortune of being one of of having me all over your LinkedIn profile, apologies, then I like to talk about what really matters. What are the material things in the system that actually gets a system to change as a systems thinker? And actually, from looking at the 10-year plan, there's 4 areas that I think are really pertinent, that I think are probably going to help us to tell the story about what happens next, what promises get fulfilled, and which ones don't. The first one is the vision of neighbourhood. And honestly, it's probably the area of the 10-year plan that I'm most excited about as an advocate for progressive change and working with organisations in this area to empower teams and individuals, because the NHS shouldn't be something that's delivered by one individual in the cabinet. It should be by people in communities actually taking care and looking after themselves. And it's a really exciting vision. But at the same time, I think if we're truly honest, there is peril. There is peril for the vision of people coming together in different ways and saying, this is what we want healthcare to look like, and social care and other areas beyond this. Almost in contradiction, I was going to tell a Star Wars story about rebel alliances and Death Stars and Star Destroyers, but I appreciate that always goes to a geeky niche in the audience, right? But we have the increasingly powerful and autonomous and commercial NHS trusts going to foundation trusts, all within a set period of time. But also, some of those trusts, I think there's probably about 6 or 7 who are kind of in the running at the moment to become the integrated health organisation, which begs a load of questions around what their area looks like when they become poacher and gamekeeper in the system. We have strategic commissioning. And for those of you who haven't really looked, for example, at the Confed work, I think it's really important to look at what the vision for strategic commissioning is, because that's almost the DNA that was going to sit behind how a lot of relationships around money and power work. Finally, I can probably say this, I won't ask any panel around this, but we have a increasingly hands-on, get shit done, consolidating and arguably didactic centre, And I, of course, wouldn't draw any links between the Rebel Alliance and the Empire here at all. I wouldn't do that. But I think whilst Jim McKay, at the time that the 10-year plan came out, said that this is not about power battles and land grab and territory wars between them, if we look at some of these dynamics around sort of tectonic plates potentially clashing with each other, then there is a high risk too of some of this stuff happening, because that is the way that the system has kind of always worked in the past. So why would that story be different just because of a few words? So, revolution. So today, we're going to have lots of words. We're going to be talking about 3 shifts. I think everyone said 3 shifts so many different times now. It's 9 words. 9 words won't change the NHS, but it's a great format for us to be able to organise the day. And so I'd like you to think about revolution today as we talk through some of the things. And of course, we have some fantastic speakers here today who are not just going to be giving you the noise. They're going to be giving you detail, and they're going to be giving you insight and some of the meat on the bones of what's going to be happening. But if you want to be able to position yourself to understand, well, what is going to be material in this system, maybe ask your question around, well, what are we hearing about today? Are we hearing about a social movement for change that's going to be supported and protected? Are we going to see sort of tectonic clashes between different areas and maybe another brand of toilet paper after the many reforms that haven't necessarily got us to where we wanted to be? And we all want to get to a better place. Or maybe it's a revolution that goes around in circles. I don't know, and I won't be putting a view on this, but what better place to start with than the social movement for change? And delighted to have Manal here to come and talk about a really exciting neighbourhood programme. She's writing some articles at the moment, or she's putting lots out, because I think she's the centre of attention in the NHS at the moment, but she's putting some really great articles out with the King's Fund at the moment to try and help to inspire people around the views. She's National Director for Primary and Community Care, and also is the lead for all of the neighbourhood work that's going on. So I'd like to welcome Manal and to hear what she's got to say.